Alright, today I want to talk with you about the trial schedule assignment. And what you will notice here is that I tell you to make sure you've read and understand these instructions. Now, as we go through this, the idea is, with this assignment, is to train you how to complete a trial schedule. Okay, how to when it comes time to register, for you to know what you need to take and how to take it and how to sign up and just how to take control of your education here at HCC. Okay, I have a lot of students that'll come in, and a lot of our advisors do, that'll say, I want some classes. And you say, okay, we got lots of classes. And they say, well, just the ones that I need. Now I equate this to, customers going to a grocery store and saying, I want some groceries. And the workers at the grocery store saying, what do you like, what kind of groceries? And they say, I don't know, just give me what I need. And then you might leave there with a cart full of groceries, but it may not be exactly what you want. And I don't know how many times I hear students say, my advisor messed me up. How did your advisor mess you up? Did you go into the grocery store asking for groceries? If so, he didn't mess you up. He just gave you groceries, gave you what you were asking for. So let's talk about looking at what we need to take and how we need to go on the path to getting our degree. As we come down to the placement test section, that's what you took when you first came in, and we use this to determine your score on the placement test. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about placement test scoring as I pull up the placement test sheet. Asset scores is what I'm going to call it. And I'm going to right click and say open in a new tab. Now first off with the asset, so here what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at two of the tests that you took as your advisor. I'm going to look at the reading score. So let's say here we scored a 38 on reading. And let's say here I scored a 42 on writing. Okay, what I do here is I look at this scale and I say, okay, a 38, that puts me in this range. So according to your reading score, that student's going to have to enroll in English 95. Now look at the writing score and I say here, it says take English depending on program. Well, this is what we call a split score. And this happens with English. Whenever we have a split score like this, we always use the lower score to determine placement. So it says if there's a discrepancy between reading and writing scores, enroll the student in the lower course. Okay, so there's a discrepancy, 38 and 42, so we want to, instead of taking English depending on the program, we're going to go back up and take English 95. Okay, and of course 95A has to go along with it. Now also, anytime you are enrolled in 095 or 095A or any of these courses that are lower in English, you're also going to be required to take ACA 85 before you take this class, ACA 111. So you'll have two. That's study skills. So you'll be required to take that one first. And let's move on and look at our math scores. Now here with this one, you're going to look at numerical skills, elementary algebra, and intermediate algebra. So you probably took these tests when you came in. We use these scores independently of each other. So it's not like English. We use these completely different. So if we come in here, whatever you score here determines whether or not you need Math 60. Whatever you score here determines whether or not you need Math 70. And whatever you score here determines whether or not you need Math 80. So it's possible here that you could say earn a 40, let's say you earn a 38 here and you earn a 42 here. Well, that would mean that you would need to take Math 60, but you wouldn't have to take Math 70. Okay, so that placement test score can be a little bit confusing, but most of y'all, well, you should be out of English 95 by the time you've taken ACA 111. Alright, so with that being said, let's go back and look at a little more of this week's assignment, how we're going to use these scores to determine what we need to take. So now the next thing I ask you is with a placement test. Now, I know that I can take any course that I don't have a prerequisite for. So what's that mean? Well, I know that if I look at these placement scores, and like I've got it written down here, I'm going through this with you to talk about what you can and can't take. Okay. So this information here is pretty much what that last sheet just gave you. And it says here, any student that places into English 75, 85, or 95 will be required to take ACA 85 before they're allowed to enroll in ACA 111. Okay, so what's that mean? Well, if I go back to my catalog, and let me pull up a course in the catalog. So here I'm back at my catalog, and what I want to do is go to the very back of my catalog. So, and let's just go drop back to back here. Well, actually, I've gone a little bit too far here. So here you see some of your classes, right? And let me zoom in just a bit. And let's see if we can't find, say, an English course perhaps. Here we go. So let's say English 113 or 114. Those are courses that a lot of y'all will have to take. So what you notice about these is they have a prerequisite of English 111. Well, there's a lot of other courses too that have other prerequisites, and I'm going to show you some examples. A lot of y'all will have to take Psych 150. Psych 150 has a prereq of English 95. So that means if you place in English 95, 85, 75, that means you've got to finish that track, finish English 95 before you can take it. If it was a co-requisite, you'd have to take it at the same time or have prior credit. Okay, but since this is a prerequisite, it says you cannot take Psych 150 until you've had English 95. Okay, so that information kind of brings us back to what we would call a tracking sheet, which your advisor should have given you when you went to visit him or her when you went to register for fall. If not, it's no big deal. You've got the catalog. The catalog will kind of guide you through your tracking sheet. It's very similar. So let's take a step out and let's look at that. In your instructions, we use the business administration program. Now I know all of us are in different programs, but I want you to look specifically at your program, not the business